Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Logistics, where we have conversations with thought leaders and newsmakers in the supply chain logistics industry. It's my great pleasure to welcome today's program, Stacie Vroman, who is business product owner at BluJay Solutions. And today we're going to talk about beyond the go live, providing ongoing value in vendor-customer relationships. Now, companies spend and invest a lot of time and resources and energy in putting together RFPs and evaluating different, features and functions, and ultimately, selecting a vendor and a solution. But what happens after the implementation is done and, the go live is completed? I mean, how do you continue to deliver value in a vendor customer relationship? Well, that's the main question we're going to address in today's episode. And it's great to have Stacie in the program to kind of share her insights and advice on this topic. So Stacie, welcome to the program.
Adrian, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, Stacie, you're a first-time guest on Talking Logistics. I've had many of your colleagues there at BluJay on the program before. And, before we kind of dive into specifics of this topic, I'm always curious how people get involved in this industry to begin with. So if you could just, share a little bit about your career path and, how and why you got involved with this industry and kind of what your role and responsibilities are there at BluJay, that'd be great.
Sure. Originally, I went to Michigan State, and pretty much out of college, I was in manufacturing, so supply and demand planning. Really got my feet wet with a fleet as well, and understanding transportation and logistics really allowed me to understand how the entire supply chain works. So if something happens with quality, how that will affect everything downstream. So that was really exciting to me. I then worked for a 3PL. Worked really with the operations group there and managed several accounts, and then went on to work for a software company, which was a startup, Lean Logistics at the time. I really just wanted a better way to do things and, be able to impact the software, make changes that were going to impact my customers. So Lean Logistics was doing that at the time, pretty new in the industry, and they were continuing to drive value for their customers. That then evolved into BluJay. So that was really exciting because as that happened, we were able to offer our customers a lot more solutions, several different products worldwide. So it's really been an exciting journey. And at BluJay currently, I am responsible for our transportation management system as well as parcel over our parcel products. So it's really exciting being able to help customers continue to drive value throughout our software products and through our services.
Great. Well, great journey there. I mean, I started in manufacturing myself, and I know when I think back to those days, having that frontline experience and actually kind of being in the shoes of now the customers that you're, helping to support, having lived it and breathed it, if you will, it always provides a good perspective, and then obviously you worked at a 3PL as well. So you've had, different perspectives of the supply chain industry and now on the technology side. I think having that diversity of experiences always helps, particularly when you're trying to solve some of the, emerging, challenges and opportunities that are out there in the industry. So let's go into the topic now. I mean, like I said in my opening remarks, I mean, going live with a software solution, it's certainly it's an important milestone, but it's really not the finish line. I mean, I think ideally it should really be the beginning of a new phase in the vendor, customer relationship. I mean, from a customer standpoint, I mean, what should they expect from a technology partner after the go live?
Absolutely. I would say some of the biggest things are to make sure that you know your customer's business as well as the industry. So if you went live with domestic freight, how is the international being managed? Is there an opportunity, to take on that business as well? A lot of times those are happening overseas or being managed by disparate groups. So I think those conversations make sure that you're at the forefront of, but then also understanding what's going on in the industry or the world that could affect your customer. Brexit, what can you be doing to make sure, right? That's a hot industry topic right now, but what can you be doing to ensure that your customer is going to be successful in those scenarios? Can we add additional visibility reporting or solve that with a service that's going to impact our customers in a great way?
Yeah, it's a great example. I mean, I think, when I talk to a lot of, manufacturers and retailers, and certainly when they talk about whether it's their technology partners or even their third-party logistics partners, one of the things I always hear is that, in addition to the services that they may provide, or in addition to the technology that they may provide, they're looking for that insight, that advice. Tell me something I don't already know. And I think part of it is, you get to work with a variety of different companies in different industries, and part of what you're doing is keeping a pulse on these industry trends like Brexit, like what's happening with, tariffs, and what's happening on the transportation side with the capacity and so forth. And then being able to, bring that insight and that advice, to customers, and tying that in with their industry and their business to see where opportunities for continuous improvement might exist, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Mergers, acquisitions, just keeping a pulse on those things is just going to help you be that much more successful with your customer in that relationship.
Right, right. So it strikes me, and I know I'm seeing this. I'm kind of curious if you're seeing this. I mean, it strikes me that companies should really be thinking about what happens after the go live from the very beginning. That is, they should kind of have that perspective as they're doing their vendor evaluation and selection process. I mean, do you see that happening today? I mean, are companies looking beyond kind of the features and functions, and looking into how a technology vendor could be a potential long-term partner moving forward?
Absolutely. We'll see that in our kickoffs even. We'll bring in people from outside of the company, so other business units, finance, obviously, but start to understand if there's something that we can do as a next phase. Maybe they don't have the resources available right away, but let's plan this for a year out. Or 6 months out. Is there something we can be engaging in from a project standpoint to incorporate more value for that customer?
And I think another element that I see when I talk to shippers is, they look for that alignment of culture, right? I mean, do they have, let's say that the company has, the customer has a strong Lean or Six Sigma or continuous improvement culture within them. A lot of times they look for a partner that has that similar type of culture or a commitment to continuous, improvement. I mean, do you see that in the early conversations with customers?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're engaging, I would say, earlier with the different groups and making sure that they're involved, and then connecting our groups with different aspects of their company. So not just your operations group. You want to get the finance group involved. You want to make sure that we have people from the warehouse all through the company. We want to make sure that those connections are happening and that those conversations are happening early on.
Great. Well, one of the things, and this as well too, when you worked in manufacturing 3PLs. I mean, supply chain is constantly changing. So it follows that the customer requirements in terms of technology is also going to change. In order to respond to everything that's happening out there in the marketplace. I mean, what role should companies play in kind of helping shape a vendor's R&D roadmap? I mean, and, how can they participate in that process?
Absolutely. I would say for us, we have a customer advisory board. So we have folks from our customer that we're specifically incorporating into understanding what our roadmap is and then what we've developed to see if there's anything additionally we should be thinking of. If we're going to be taking on a larger development item, we're going to develop stakeholders within our customer base to make sure we're incorporating their feedback. We also have what we would call an ideas portal. So our customers are specifically able to submit business issues or ideas for improvement that we're going to then action and make sure that we're giving them regular feedback. We also have our user conference, which gives our users, customers and partners alike the ability to be part of understanding what we're doing in the industry, where we're going as far as a roadmap is concerned, and then provide feedback as well as focus groups around the different areas that we are developing.
Yeah, well, I know your user group is coming up in just a few weeks here, and certainly looking forward to that. And I mean, I've had the opportunity to participate in different customer advisory board meetings, present to the groups and so forth. And the thing that strikes me is that those are really some great conversations because it tend to be more intimate, more intimate setting. There's a lot of, honest communication and feedback that takes place in those meetings. And in the meetings that I participated in, I don't think I've participated in one with your company, but usually the customers are represented. There's a diversity of representation there, large companies and small companies, different industries and so forth, to really try to get as broad a view of the trends and the issues affecting the various industries as possible. I mean, do you look for that kind of diversity in your customer advisory groups as well?
Absolutely. We will incorporate the user feedback. So from a system administrator perspective, we also engage with our C-level. So from a strategic advisory standpoint, for driving our roadmap as well. So absolutely.
So, I mean, as a vendor, I mean, you're receiving, input from many, different customers in terms of, and of course, different industries in terms of how the requirements are changing, what new capabilities they may be looking for in response to, strategic initiatives that they may have or regulatory changes and so forth. I mean, how do you manage and prioritize all of those requests that are coming in? And, how do you make sure or prevent a customer from feeling like they're being ignored or something like that?
Absolutely. We have regular engagements with our customers, but we have contractual commitments, go lives, our roadmap. And then I referenced before, we have a tool called AHA that we are looking at the highest voted items and dedicating a percentage of our roadmap in every release to making sure we're pulling directly from there. So highest voted on items we're looking at, but we're looking at those by product as well to make sure that our products are all being enhanced, and customer feedback is a big portion of that.
Right, because I mean, ultimately, you're trying to align, your roadmap in terms of what you're working on with things that customers, or the broadest population of customers are looking for, are going to need, in the coming, years and months, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
So ultimately, what business benefits are, the customers and vendors, achieve by, really establishing a, longer term partnership?
I would say continuous improvement within their business and continued return on their investment. As an example, we have a customer in the UK who had submitted an idea that was highly voted on regarding carrier shipper document sharing. They do a lot of legal documentation with carriers, and they said it would be great if we had a way to just share these documents, as well as be notified if anything expires or we need to update something or review it. So that was one of the highest voted on items, and we made sure that, there's multiple ways to solve a problem, but we wanted to incorporate their feedback as well as anyone who voted on it. So we even shared mock-ups of initial mock-ups of what we were designing with the customers that voted on that. And then anyone in our customer advisory board took into account their feedback, and we'll be releasing that shortly, just because it was one of those things that we said, this would be great to add to the product. Are we missing anything? Is there anything else we should be adding? So once we had that prototype and mock-up with the functionality we were going to deliver, we said, is there anything else we should incorporate? And we got extremely good feedback around what that can do and how we can enhance that product.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, I think, for me, I think that, it takes two to tango, if you will, right? And I think you can't be a passive customer, right? You can't just, be silent or not engage and expect that, the vendor partner is going to, deliver on things just, or know what they need, just through osmosis, right? So I think one of the things is that, whether it's participating in a customer advisory board or completing surveys or attending the user conferences, I think part of the responsibility is, the customers have to take that responsibility in terms of their role as well, in terms of being able to be actively engaged with their partner to be able to provide that, honest feedback and continuous input, including perhaps participating in pilot engagements. They may be the first to test some new functionality and be able to provide some, help guide a new feature, even more directly, right?
Absolutely. We take beta customers all the time. And ultimately, we want to deliver products that our customers love and that they use. So the feedback is key as we develop something. We like to always think of ourselves as experts. And we're fortunate in the aspect that we manage about $2.5 billion of freight in-house. So a lot of times we will get good feedback from that user group that manages transportation in-house. But our customers, ultimately, we want to make sure that we're engaging with them and we're developing stakeholders around the features we're developing to get that feedback.
Great. Well, Stacie, we're running short on time here, so I'm just going to go right to to my last question here. So, I mean, as a way to wrap up, I mean, how would you complete the following statement or sentence? The secret to providing ongoing value after go live is what?
Engaging with your customer, knowing their business and the industry.
Well, I think we covered all those 3 points in our discussion today. And like I always say, we always just manage to scratch the surface on these topics. But my main takeaway is both parties have to be engaged, and both parties have to it's the old saying, you have to be communication is key, and honest communication to bring forward a lot of the innovations that are going to be required in this industry to be able to respond to all the challenges that are out there. So Stacie, thank you again for making the time to be with us today.
Thanks, Adrian.
I want to thank those of you that joined us. If you're watching this episode on demand, either at the BluJay Solutions website or on Talking Logistics, and you've got a question or a comment for Stacie, you can post it there, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to respond via that medium. Again, thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in a future episode of Talking Logistics. Have a great day.